Woodford Reserve, Andrew. Kentucky's oldest and newest distillery.
What do you mean?
Well, it was founded in 1812, which by any chalk is early.
Old, yeah.
And yet it was derelict for much of its later life. Indeed, 15 years ago, this was completely overgrown.
So hence the oldest and the newest.
Yeah. Been beautifully restored and revived.
Gorgeous.
But what's this piece of technology here, this little railway line?
That's Woodford Reserve's cask delivery system, modern technology. The guy opens the door in the filling store, rolls a cask and forgets about it until it vanishes down there to the warehouse. Yeah, fascinating.
And they're bottling on site beside us here.
That's the bottling hall, hence the noise.
But what is the relationship between Woodford Reserve and Bowmore?
Well, we've obviously got the casks.
You buy casks from them?
Yeah. But they're also, as you know, they are the only pot distilled bourbon.
Yeah.
But not just pot distilled, triple distilled. And as you know, at Auchentoshan, you've got the only triple distilled Scotch whisky. We're in Kentucky's only limestone warehouse, I believe, Dave.
Yes, sir.
Very different to what we've seen before, Charlie.
Much cooler, thank God.
Yeah, well, the walls are made out of limestone. They're 2 feet thick.
2 feet.
Yeah, which means the climate in here doesn't change much.
Yeah, summer and winter, Dave?
Summer and winter, same temperatures. So we help it along by doing something called cycling, which is introducing heat below the floor. And as the heat rises, it warms the whiskey in all the barrels about 15 degrees. So we do this in the wintertime, and after a couple of weeks, we'll turn the steam off and bring cool air through and bring the temperature back down inside the barrels 15 degrees. So we're getting an expansion and contraction.
Right, so you're effectively helping the whiskey
absolutely.
breathe.
Yeah, we have to help Mother Nature.
Yeah. Does that give you a more uniform product then?
Yeah, all these barrels are considered honey barrels because they've gone through the heating process from bottom to top.
So
what's that honey? What's the honey business?
Honey barrels are the barrels that are considered to be the best of the best.
Ah, yes, that's right. And they're usually found at the top of the.
The next place we're going to go into you'll find quite interesting. This is what we call the Inner Sanctum. It was built in 1838 by Oscar Pepper and his master distiller James Crowe, who was his master distiller, and he was also from Edinburgh, Scotland.
And he came from Scotland?
Yes, he did, yeah.
And these are the three stills you were talking about earlier on?
Yeah, a lot different from Auchentoshan.
Yeah, just a wee bit.
Just a wee bit, yeah.
Yeah, we like to tell people we're the only distillery in the world that makes bourbon using pot stills.
Yeah.
And we're only one of 5 distilleries in the world that makes whiskey using the triple distillation method.
Auchentoshan and the 3 Irish.
3 Irish distilleries, right.
Talk us through very briefly through the process.
Okay, well, like I said, it's a triple distillation process. The mash goes into the first still, and we turn the steam on, and alcohol boils at a lower temperature than water. So the alcohol boils on over and is condensed, and we take that product and put it in the second still and do the same thing.
This one?
This one right behind us, yeah. And at that time, we'll do some back cuts, and we'll take the best part of what's coming off and send it forward for the third distillation in this still. So it comes off the first pot still in an aggregate proof. Well, we'll speak percentages here. At an aggregate percentage of 20. And the second still, the average percent is around 55. And then the third pot still, the average is 79. Now that's important because the definition of a bourbon, one of the defining factors, is that it can't be distilled at over 80% and still be called a bourbon.
80%,
yeah.
Right. Okay.
So the definition of a bourbon has to be made from 51% corn, aged in a new charred white oak barrel, distilled at not higher than 80%, bottled at not less than 40%.
So your final spirit, Dave, is obviously going to be a lighter, fruitier spirit than a more traditional bourbon then?
Oh yeah. But we nurse it along because we learned when I went to learn how to run pot stills at Auchentoshan, is that you have to, the first part of the distillation has to come over very slowly to capture those esters and fruity notes. And then once you've captured those, then you can accelerate the distillery process and run off the rest of your alcohol.
I'm amused that your first distillate is called high wines, where
Yeah,
we
yeah,
would
yeah.
call it low wines.
Well, actually, our beer still, our first still is called a beer still
Beer still. Well, that-
instead of a wash still,
That makes sense.
because our grain is suspended in the mash,
Yeah.
whereas
Yeah,
Scotch,
your grain's in,
Scotch
aren't you?
whiskey is,
the whole lot goes in.
yes, yeah. And then the second still we decided to call a high wine still instead of a low wine still, because it sounds more, effervescent.
Any relevance, Dave, to the shape of the still?
Yes, we shape those stills to give it character.
It's exactly the same as us. They give it character.
Aesthetic.
Yeah.
Oh, to give the spirit
The
character.
character, yeah.
No, actually, we wanted to expose the alcohol to as much copper as possible. So as the vapors climb, some of them will cool off enough that you'll have that reflux.
Yeah.
And we were looking for a little more reflux.
Lighter
Yeah,
character.
right,
spirit.
right.